Hi guys, this is Mr. Urrego, and today we're going to do factor quadratic expressions, trinomials basically, using product and sum. Again, the vocabulary is there. There was a bell work, which is going to be greatest common factor and then difference of squares, but I'm going to stick to our topic right now. So the question will always be factor completely, all right? I have 2, 3 here. Let's do 2 first of all. So the question we factor completely. Every time we're factoring, the first thing I do is I check if we have greatest common factor. Okay, I check for greatest common factor. That's the first thing I check. Greatest common factor. Now, when we have 3 terms here, 1, 2, 3 terms, we need to see the coefficients, the numbers. When we have a small number like 3 right now, to make it easier for us, we see if the 3 goes into the 15 and if it goes into the 18. If the 3 goes into both numbers, then my 3 will be my common factor, which is the case right now. 3 goes into both of them. Okay? Now, so 3 is the common factor. Now, between the variables, the x is my common factor because the x is here, is there, but it has the lowest exponent right here, so x is my common factor. Nothing else, so now I'm going to open my parentheses. And I divide every term divided by 3x. So my first term divided by x. 3's cancel. X cubed divided by x. X to the second power. Next, 15x squared divided by 3x. So plus over here. 15 divided by 3, 5. X squared divided by s to the first. X. Remember, I subtract the exponents. Plus 18x divided by 3x. It's going to give me 6, and the x and the x, they cancel out. So I'm done. All right? So that's GCF. But again, remember, I just said that today we're going to do trinomials using product and sum. So right now, we always check to see if there's anything if there's anything that I can do inside the parentheses. I got to check this. In my case, I have 3 terms right there. Okay, I have x squared plus 5x plus 6. The way we're going to factor today is using product and sum. First of all, it's a trinomial because I have 1, 2, 3 terms, trinomial. And I'm going to use product and sum. Product will be the last number, the 6. And the sum is any number in the middle, any number that is in front of the x. So that's my sum. So here's my sum. And the last number will be a product. Oh my God, horrible. Okay, I'm sorry about that. So what I need to do is I need to break the 6 into 2 numbers. Then when they multiply, product, get equals to 6. The same number that when I add has to give me 5. So I have 2 choices, either 6 and 1 or 3 and 2. Okay? 3 times 2 is 6, 6 times 1 is 6. But if I added 6 and 1, 3 and 2, who's going to give me the 5? The one that's going to give me the 5 is 3 and 2. So my answer is 3 and 2. Those are the 2 numbers that I'm looking for. Once I find my numbers, then it's easy. So I'm going to bring everything else, whatever's outside the parentheses, I have to bring it down. So 3x. My trinomial, whenever I factor, is going to give me 2 parentheses. So it's going to give me 2 parentheses. If I have an x squared here, x squared there, that x squared is going to break into x and x. And my 2 numbers are 3 and 2. Because both are positive, then it's going to be plus 3 and then plus 2. And that's going to be my final answer. Okay? All right. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do easy ones first. So I'm going to scroll down to number 4 and 5, just to get the point across. So again, this is a trinomial because I have 3 terms. 1, 2, and 3, trinomial. Okay? There's no coefficient in front of the x squared, so my coefficient is 1. So the way that I'm solving or I'm factoring is when there's no coefficient in front of the x squared. So I'm going to do product and sum. So my product has to be negative 35. My sum has to be 2. So you get your factors. I know that 7 times 5 is 35, but again, the product has to be negative. You see that? Negative. So that means one of these two numbers have to be negative, either the 7 or the 5. So I go back over here and I check on my sum, and my sum is a positive 2. So that means between the 5 and the 7, the bigger number has to be positive and the small number has to be negative. So in that case, the 5 is negative. So my two numbers are 7 times negative 5. Let's double check. 7 times negative 5 gives you negative 35. 7 minus 5 gives you the 2. So I got my numbers. All right, so we're ready. Trinomial, I factor, it gives me two parentheses. The x squared breaks into x and x. And now it's a matter of just bringing the two numbers. My first number is positive 7, so I put plus 7. Oh my god, that's a 7, supposedly. And my second number, so that's a 7. And my second number is negative 5, so negative 5. And I'm done with that trinomial. So that's the idea. That's how it works, the trinomial using product and sum. Let's do number 5. So you always check the greatest common factor. You see that the x has no number in front, so technically it's a 1. So I need a common factor other than 1. Okay? I know that you have a 1, so there's no common factor. Now I check if the x is common. X is here, x is there, but there's no x right here. So the x is not common, therefore I don't have a greatest common factor. So I move on. This is a trinomial, so I'm going to use product and sum. So I need two numbers that you multiply, you get 45, but when you add or subtract, you get 13. Numbers, 9 and 5. Oh my god, I made a mistake. 14, hold on. There you go. X is a mistake, because I created this like 2 minutes ago, and I didn't add correctly. So, here we go. So my sum has to be 14, not 13, and my product has to be 45. I was making up this problem, so that's why I made a mistake. So again, the product, 45, which is 9 times 5 is 45. Now if I come over here, both numbers are positive, so 9 plus 5 is 14. So those are the numbers. My answer, that x squared breaks into two x's, x and x. And now I bring my two numbers, 9 and 5. Positive 9, positive 5. End of story. Okay? Let's do one more. Now we're back to number 3. Okay? So I have to factor this out. Remember, the question is always factored completely. I have to factor that out. Now, to factor that out, I always check if I have a greatest common factor to make my life easier. So I always do that. I see that I have a 7 in the first one, 7 here, and I have a 210. So it's just a matter of saying, oh, is the 7 into 210? Yes, it is. It's 30 times. So my 7 is a common factor. Is the x a common factor? Here, there, and there. So it's a common factor. Choose the one with the lowest exponent. Nothing else, so I open my parentheses now, and I'm going to start solving. 7x cubed divided by 7x. My answer, the 7's cancel out. X cubed divided by x squared. Next, minus 7x squared divided by 7x. 7's cancel. X squared divided by x. Minus 210x divided by 7x. 210 divided by 7, 30. X and x cancel out. So now I have this. I did GCF. Now I always check inside the parentheses. You want to check always inside the parentheses. In this case, it seems I have a trinomial, and I can use product and sum. So let's try use product and sum. Product is the last number, sum the number in front of the x. But there's no numbers, so that means you have a 1, so negative 1. So now let's think of two numbers that when you multiply you get negative 30, but when you add or subtract you get negative 1. 3 and 10, no, 15 and 2, no. Oh, 6 and 5, what about 6 and 5? Again, the product has to be negative, right? So one of them has to be negative. Let's write out the negative 5. So 6 times negative 5 is negative 30. What about 6 minus 5? It's positive 1, right? It's not negative 1. So that means I have the signs wrong. So I got to go back and change the signs. Okay, so that means the 5 is not negative. Which one is negative is the 6. The 6 is negative. Let's try that again. Negative 6 times 5 is negative 30. Negative 6 plus 5, negative 6 plus 5 is going to be negative 1, which is what I want. So my two numbers are negative 6 and 5. So let me erase all that to write my answer. So negative 6 and 5, memory. Negative 6 and 5, negative 6 and 5, negative 6 and 5. Negative 6 and 5. So I'm going to write everything else. 7x. Now I factor this out. Two parentheses. The x squared, it brings x and x. And my two numbers were negative 6 and positive 5. And that should be your final answer. Okay? Alright guys, take care, practice. Have a good one.